Welcome to Succeed with Pro. I, Dr. Manali Tucker, is going to start our subtopic 1. Let's have a look. So this is our subtopic 1 that talks about Introduction to Organizational Behavior. Coming to the learning outcomes, at the end of this session, you will be able to understand the meaning of organizational behavior, nature of organizational behavior, difference between organizational behavior and other similar fields of study, as well as disciplines contributing to organizational behavior. What is meaning of organizational behavior? As the term says, that it is concerned with behavior of the people or the human beings in the organization. According to Callan et al., it is a subset of management activities concerned with understanding, predicting, and influencing individual behavior in the organizational setting. So it says that you are not just supposed to understand the individual behavior, but also you need to predict the behavior of the individual, maybe in a particular setting, maybe if he belongs to a certain environment, as well as learn to control or to influence the behavior of the individual. That in turn leads to organizational behavior. And if the organizational behavior is correct, then you will be able to achieve the organizational effectiveness. Now, this is where we reach the very purpose of organizational behavior or of this course. Why this course has been designed? This course has been designed for the learners as well as the practitioners who are working in organizational setting and who want to attain organizational effectiveness. Now, in order to do this, they need to understand why people behave in certain manner, right? So thereby we are having many disciplines that are contributing for the understanding of their behavior, and then we try to control that behavior to some extent according to the person, according to the group, according to the organizational capabilities. We try to predict, we try to control that behavior so that a win-win situation can be attained and effectiveness can be reached. So Stephen P. Robbins says that organizational behavior is a field of study that investigates the impact that individual, groups, and structure have on behaviors within the organization for the purpose of applying such knowledge towards improving an organization effectiveness. Now, Stephen P. Robbins goes one step further. It says that not only just the individual and group have an impact on the organization, but it is the structure that have an impact, and it also have an impact on the individuals that in turn have an impact on the whole organization. Fine. So it consider one more dimension of this particular behavior, organizational behavior, that is the structure, because structure determines the relationship that is happening in the organization, and the relationship will cause a group behavior, which in turn causes organizational behavior. Coming to the nature and features of organizational behavior, it is a field of study and not a discipline. Now, to understand that why it is a field of study, we should have knowledge of what is a discipline. Now, discipline is basically which is capable of undergoing through certain experiments or something which is based on certain principles, and the research can be conducted on that particular discipline. So all in all, so discipline is an accepted science with a theoretical foundation, and it is capable of being researched, but that not happens within the case of organizational behavior. Though it is called an emerging discipline, but it is not a pure science. So that's why we called it a field of study, as it has taken knowledge from various disciplines. So it is not just dependent upon its own science or something and explain the phenomena as it is. Next is level of analysis. Now organizational behavior conduct analysis at the three levels. That means it try to understand the individual behavior. Moreover, it tries to understand the interpersonal and the group behavior. And lastly, what is the organizational, at the organizational level, it try to analyze, which in turn these three analysis leads to organizational behavior analysis. It is also called interdisciplinary approach. Now we called it as an interdisciplinary approach. That means it has drawn knowledge from various other disciplines like psychology, sociology, anthropology, and there are other disciplines as well who have contribution or who have contributed to this particular field of study, that is organizational behavior, so that we are better able to understand while studying the individual behavior or while studying the group behavior in the organization, because of those theories, because of those concepts that has been provided to us by these disciplines. It is an applied science. Now, what is a science? It is not a pure science like you just conduct an experiment and you try to find out the cause and effect relationship, that yes, because this is the cause, because the machines are not working properly, that has an impact upon the productivity of the organization, and there is no chance of any other variable that have an impact on the productivity. So we just explain it as it is, that yes, controlling by controlling all the condition, this is the result that we have achieved. But that can't happen in case of human behavior or individual behavior. That is not the case, that just because the environment was not friendly, just because the lighting condition was not friendly, the productivity has hampered this time, but next time if these conditions are fine, the productivity will definitely increase and there is no role of intervening variables. This is not the case with the organizational behavior, so that is why it is called an accepted and applied science, because it tried to build its own concepts on the basis of theories provided to it by the other disciplines, and it is an applicatory in nature. It is an applied thing because it tried to find solution to the problem which is there in front of it. So it is rather called a normative and value centered approach, where you try to say that this is the standard that is going to be achieved or what ought to be done in a given situation, rather than explaining the concept as it is. It is humanistic and optimistic. That means it does not consider human being as a particular element or part of the organization, but rather they are the living organism. They have their needs, their motivation, their aspiration, and it see them uh, from the point of view as a human being, and accordingly try to uh, find out solution to the problem. Moreover, it is optimistic in nature. For example, if one person is not able to do well in the other field, that doesn't mean that he does not have potential or he does not love to be creative. Maybe he want to be creative, maybe he does not want to be speculated or supervised all the times, right? So it is optimistic in nature. When we conduct research or when we apply any theory or principle, we need to keep in mind that be optimistic, be positive, and then expect positive results. It is oriented towards organizational objective. Now organizational objective cannot operate in isolation from the individual objectives. Rather, it also does not mean that individual objective is of high priority, that we try to achieve the individual objective at the cost of organizational objective. No, that is not the case. But here organizational behavior try to integrate both the objectives of the organization as well as the individual objective. It tries to create harmony between them so that effectiveness can be achieved. Next, it is a total system approach. So it does not consider human beings in isolation. So whatever things, man, material, machinery are required for the working of the organization, so it takes human beings into it, and then it tries to achieve the results. Now there is some difference between the organizational behavior and other fields of study. So there is a difference between organizational behavior and behavioral science. Though the basic focus of behavioral science and organizational behavior is on investigating or studying the human behavior. But as is being said earlier, that behavioral science is scientific in nature, that means it tries to explain that this is the cause and this is the effect of that particular thing, and it tried to explain behavior as it is, that why a particular person has behaved in such and such manner. But OB goes one step further. How it goes one step further? First of all, it try to analyze the factors that are affecting the behavior of a particular individual. Then it goes one step further by actually telling you what ought to be or what can be done, to change the behavior, or to make a person's negative opinion into a positive opinion. So rather it is an applied science. So this is the basic difference between organizational and behavioral science. Let's see in detail again. Behavioral science is the study of human behavior to establish generalizations that are supported by empirical evidence collected by an impersonal and objective way. There is a difference between OB and human relations as well. Organizational behavior is concerned with behavior of the people within the organization, while human relation could be anywhere. I mean, it is within the organization and it is even outside the organization. You have relations with your employees, or you consider them as your friends sometimes. So it talks about both. Then HR considers increase in productivity as a result of satisfaction of workforce, while OB consider that there is no cause and effect relationship between productivity and satisfaction, because it says that people are complex and respond to variety of factors. Now, what does that mean? It says that human relations says that if you motivate a person, if you provide him with job security, economic benefits, if you're able to satisfy the esteem needs of the individual, then there is no way that he's not able to contribute successfully to the organizational goals, because his own individual goals will be satisfied. Now, organizational behavior is not so simple. It does not say that it is a very simple concept to understand to mold the behavior of an individual. Rather, it is a complex concept, as the individual behavior is affected by a variety of factors. It could be your personality, your attitude, how you have been raised, your lifestyle, or even if it is okay, if it is fine, then the condition in which you are working, the processes that you have been through, the learning, the motivation you have. So all these have an impact on the behavior. So it says that it is really difficult to understand, predict, and control the behavior of the individuals or the group behavior. Now, what are the disciplines that are contributing to organizational behavior? These are the disciplines: psychology, sociology, sociopsychology, anthropology, economics, political sciences. So what is psychology? Psychology is basically the study of mind or the psyche. So this is science of behavior. It endeavors to understand individual behavior. Behavior, it says that behavior is influenced by different conditions. It could be maybe you behave in a good manner in normal condition, but if even the condition is abnormal, the situation is abnormal, you behave in a different manner, so it is affected. Then the social, maybe in a society you behave differently, and if you're at your home, you're relaxed, you behave differently. In industrial setting you behave differently, maybe formally. If it is related to legal or law or something, you behave differently. If you're at this particular adolescence age, childhood age, so these all have an impact on the behavior of the individual. So psychology study the science of behavior. Then it's not just about condition. It says that behavior is also influenced by processes such as learning, motivation, sensation, maybe after learning the new technique, maybe after getting comfortable with the technology, after getting training with the same, your behavior or your attitude towards new things change. So this also has an impact. Maybe we behave differently during our adolescence. Now after attaining maturity, our behavior is different, or maybe because our needs also changes. After attaining certain age, the needs become different, the motivation becomes different, everything becomes different, so that have an impact on our behavior. So that is where the psychology contribution is noted. So that's why it has drawn knowledge from psychology to understand the behavior, or to understand what is happening in the mind of an individual, and how, what attitude or perception he builds towards things. Then it's about sociology, how a particular person behave in a society, what is his behavior in the society, or when he is having when he's sitting in a group, how he behaves. So its social behavior is being understood. So study the interpersonal as well as the group behavior, its contribution, or there various contribution of the sociology. It's not just psychology, but sociology has contributed for understanding the behavior of individual in the organization, and that includes your leadership, your communication pattern, your formal informal structure or organization, group dynamics, then interpersonal dynamics. All these if you study all these things, you will try to understand the social behavior or the interpersonal behavior of the people in the organization. So it's a noted contribution. Now socio-psychology, that means combination of psychology as well as sociology. Now why we do that? To understand the influence of group members on one another. So that means they don't you don't behave differently while you are sitting in a social setting. Somehow you are also impacted by your individual behavior, by your perception, your attitude, your learning, whatever the contribution of psychology and sociology, they in turn blend together, and they in turn have an impact on uh, people who are sitting with their peers, with their employees, or having social relations in a gathering. So आपके attitude, your learning, all this when combined with your group dynamics, group cohesion, they in turn form a they in turn have this in turn called as social psychology, and that have contribution to this same thing. Now its contribution includes how to overcome resistance to change in the organization. Now in this case, your social skills as well as your individual skills will do. Then introduction of change in the organization, changes in attitude or behavior, group decision making, etc. Coming to anthropology, anthropology is basically concerned with understanding uh, how your origin, your language, what impact your origin, from which civilization you belong to, from which culture you belong to, what languages you speak, how it is going to impact your behavior in the organization. So if you belong to a particular culture, or if you belong to that particular civilization, you might behave positively with the people who are from the same civilization. You might behave positively with the people who are of your culture. Maybe if you are Muslim, maybe if you are Christian, and you are comfortable enough to mingle with people who have the same religion, or who belong to the same culture, or who speak the same language. So definitely it has its impact. So there it helps to better understand the effects of cultural anthropology on variety of things, that is on organizational behavior, value system. You form certain value system because you belong to certain culture, your norms, your sentiments, as well as your cohesion. Cohesion is very high between the people who belong to certain culture. Your interaction pattern, of course. Then there are other disciplines that have an impact on organizational behavior. So these include economics. Now how economics has contribution to organizational behavior. Basically, maybe you are impacted by your culture, maybe a festival that you want to celebrate, and you are purchasing clothes for the same. But on the other hand, your father or maybe your elder is not very much influenced, or it not does not impacted by the cultural influence, and he is rather more concerned about the rationality or in whatever decision you are making. Maybe you are having n number of clothes, but to celebrate that occasion, to celebrate festival that is going to come year after year, you are just purchasing it to show that yes, you are happy, but that is not a rational decision according to him. So he thinks that whatever is worthy enough, that's fine. Even in organization, people might be influenced by economics. In while taking decision, your boss may be influenced that yes, the decision needs to be rational. Maybe it will have a bad impact upon the morale of employees, but this is what is worthwhile for the organization, so they may have different point of view accordingly. So also the impact of economic policy has an influence on the behavior, on the people's behavior, or the in all organizational behavior. So this is the contribution of economics. The other discipline includes the political science. That means that includes how and why people acquire power, why they form coalition, power and authority structure. So certain people love to enjoy power. They are not very much influenced what is right, what is wrong, but they enjoy being in powerful position, and for that they make coalition with people who are more powerful. They make them friends in order to acquire power. So this is the contribution of political science. So that will help us to understand why people are behaving in such a manner. So this is the OB model that shows the contribution individually of all the disciplines of behavioral science and what level of analysis the each contribution is doing. So this learning psychology point of view, we have the contribution in the form of learning, motivation, personality, emotions, perception, training, and etc. Similarly, social psychology, sociology, and anthropology, all this will help in studying the organizational behavior. So that's all. Let's have a look at the MCQs that you need to go through. First talks about organizational behavior is what? It is a science or just an art or a combination of both or none of the above. I hope you very well know the answer that yes, organizational behavior is a science as well as an art. Next, which of the following is not correct for the organizational behavior? So it is an integral part of management, of course. It is a disciplinary approach. That's what we have studied. No, it is not correct. Rest are correct. So organizational behavior is a disciplinary approach is not correct. Rather, it is an interdisciplinary approach. So that's all for today. We'll be coming up with a subtopic 2. Stay tuned and have a nice day. Thank you so much.